Good evening and welcome to Sunset News this Monday evening. As always, we bring you news, community stories, economics, weather and sports. I am Diana Master. In the news tonight, Simon Petrus Nilenge's three daughters were among those who witnessed his long-awaited return to Namibia 52 years after his death in exile. Nilenge's remains were reburied at Heroes Acre yesterday, alongside those of fellow liberation struggle veteran Festus Nehale. His wife and siblings had died before his remains could be brought home, leaving his daughters Ruth, Albertina, and Francina as the surviving members of his immediate family to receive him. Nilenge died in South Africa in 1974, 8 years after some members of his family had last seen him. Speaking on behalf of the family, Feni Kapanda said the homecoming was filled with conflicting emotions. He said while 52 years had passed since Nilenge's death, the family had carried the memory of his absence for much longer. Kapanda said the family's clothing at the ceremony also carried special meaning, with some relatives wearing military-style batik scarves associated with Nilenge's liberation struggle uniform, while others wore black and white, colors he had worn during his lifetime. He said the family could neither fully mourn nor celebrate the occasion, describing it as a painful but significant homecoming. Nilenge's remains were repatriated from South Africa last week as part of a wider repatriation that also brought back 84 ancestral human remains from the Iziko museums in South Africa. Getting into our next story, a private company has been selected to take over half of the date farming operations at the $233 million Namibian state-owned Naute irrigation farm near Keetmanshoop. The development follows an expression of interest issued by the Namibia Industrial Development Agency, NIDA, in April this year to attract strategic investors for the farm's management and expansion. The EOI closed on the 30th of April 2026. A senior government official confirmed to Network Media Hub that a company had been selected but said the process had not been publicly announced. NIDA's call for investors listed two opportunities: the management and expansion of the Naute irrigation farm and the previous NIDA date palm joint venture and its expansion. However, NIDA did not disclose the value of the investment, the land or operations involved, the duration of the arrangement, or its financial terms. The development also raises questions about NIDA's long-running partnership with the United Arab Emirates agribusiness company Al Dara, which became involved in the Naute Date project more than 15 years ago. Located about 50 kilometers southwest of Keetmanshoop, the Naute irrigation farm covers around 2,000 hectares, with the first date palms planted back in 1991. Getting into our next story, a South African financial tribunal has upheld a $5 million Namibian fine and public censure against Namibian investment group Trustco Group Holdings over a major transaction that was implemented without prior shareholder approval. The Financial Services Tribunal dismissed Trustco's application for reconsideration on the 20th of August 2026, confirming penalties imposed by the Johannesburg Stock Exchange in October 2025. The case relates to Trustco's reduction of its stake in Meya Mining, a Mauritius-registered company operating a diamond mine in Sierra Leone. Trustco held a 65% interest in Meya Mining in 2022 before an agreement reduced its stake first to 55.25% and eventually to 19.5%. The transaction was valued at about $460.5 million Namibian dollars, equivalent to almost 90% of Trustco's market capitalization, making it a Category 1 transaction under JSE rules. Such transactions require shareholders to receive a detailed circular and formally approve the deal before it can be implemented. The JSE found that Trustco had started disposing of its shares before obtaining that approval, despite earlier undertakings that shareholder approval would be sought. The exchange described the conduct as unacceptable, saying Trustco had knowingly deprived shareholders of their rights. With the tribunal now confirming the JSE's penalties, Trustco remains liable for the $5 million Namibian fine and public censure. And now bringing us to the end of our top stories, Namibia's electricity network is in satisfactory overall condition, but significant weaknesses remain in some local and regional council networks, according to the Electricity Control Board. The finding comes from the ECB's 2024-2025 National Electricity Infrastructure Status Report, based on inspections of electricity networks across all 14 regions. The regulator found that NamPower's high-voltage transmission network remains well-maintained and reliable, while networks operated by regional electricity distributors generally performed better than those managed directly by councils. Sino Red was identified as a strong performer, while No Red continues to face some compliance issues despite having a maintenance system in place. Council-operated networks raised more concerns, with Karas recording the most problems, followed by Hardap and Omaheke. Khomas and Nochadanjupa were highlighted as positive exceptions. Farmer-operated electricity schemes were another major concern. The ECB inspected 13 schemes, with 8 rated poor, largely due to limited technical skills, funding constraints, and difficulties maintaining infrastructure. The mining sector performed better overall, although Namdeb was identified as the main exception due to aging equipment and inadequate maintenance. The ECB also says electricity interruptions previously affecting Tsumeb have been resolved following corrective maintenance and network upgrades. ECB Chief Executive Robert Kaimithe says the national network is in good shape overall, but the report highlights areas where intervention is needed to prevent safety problems and disruptions to electricity supply. That brings us to the end of our top stories segment. After the break, we bring you our Community Talk segment. Stick around.
Namibia is a land of movement, with waves that never stop reaching forward. Here, adventure is not something we search for. It is something we are born into. In every corner of this country, creativity rises, from artists, from athletes, from dreamers. And when the world comes to explore Namibia, they discover something extraordinary. Because when sport moves people, creativity moves ideas, and tourism moves the world toward us. Something powerful happens. A platform where movement meets imagination, where industries connect, where opportunity grows, where Namibia's next chapter begins. Welcome to the Creative Sport Tourism Expo. Exhibit, partner, experience. Creative Sport Tourism.
Tonight in our Community Talk segment, Kavango West Regional Council says it could be left with just $2 million Namibian to run its operations in the 2026-2027 financial year, after personnel costs are expected to consume almost the entire $50 million Namibian government subsidy. Council Chairperson Philippus Tenga says the region requires about $84.8 million Namibian to operate effectively, leaving a shortfall of almost $35 million Namibian. Now, of the $50 million Namibian allocation, $47.8 million is expected to go towards salaries, leaving roughly $2 million Namibian for utilities, transport, and other operational costs. Tenga warns this could bring council operations to a standstill and affect service delivery. The funding concerns come as Kavango West faces major gaps in basic services. According to the council's regional report, 140 of the region's 405 villages have no access to water, while 310 have no electricity. The council is also calling for the long-delayed Nkuru District Hospital project to be revived. The groundbreaking ceremony was held in 2014, but Tenga says construction has not progressed beyond the fenced-off site. Residents currently rely on referrals to Rundu Intermediate Hospital, while some communities travel more than 30 kilometers to access health facilities. The region also faces shortages of medical staff and equipment. The council is calling for the completion of the Nkurenkuru Secondary School Hostel, further development of the Nkurenkuru Vocational Training Center, and expansion of rural electrification and telecommunications infrastructure. Tenga says the region's development needs require greater investment and that the current funding allocation could undermine the council's ability to deliver essential services. Still with our Community Talk segment, 38 Namibian students are set to leave for universities across Europe under the Erasmus Plus Academic Mobility Program, with their studies fully funded by the European Union. The students will study in Germany, Austria, the Czech Republic, Hungary, Estonia, and Spain. Speaking at a farewell event in Windhoek, EU Ambassador to Namibia Anna Beatrice Martins encouraged the students to embrace the opportunity and represent Namibia positively while abroad. Deputy Executive Director of Higher Education, Training, Research and Innovation, Dr. Lisho Mundia, also urged the students to remain focused on their studies and serve as ambassadors for Namibia. The EU says about 300 Namibian students and higher education staff receive Erasmus Plus funding each year to study or work in Europe. Since 2021, around 1,000 Namibian students and higher education staff have received support through the program. Stick around, the latest in economic news to follow right after the break.
From the heart of the continent to its farthest horizons, Africa awakens with stories that shape our world. This is Africa Good Morning, your window into the pulse of a dynamic continent. I'm Ashwin Berry, here to deliver the latest news, sharp insights, and the vibrant spirit of Africa. Every weekday, we dive into the headlines, uncover untold stories, and spotlight the people driving change. Plus, stay ahead with daily weather forecasts and economic updates to navigate your week with confidence. With direct coverage from our correspondents on the ground, we bring you in-depth access to Africa's beating heart. Mondays, Mike Situla reports from Zambia. Africa Good Morning. Tuesdays, Talent Gore covers Zimbabwe. Wednesdays, Rorisang Mohojwe brings Botswana's news. Dumela, Rorisang.
Thank you very much, Ashwin, for having me right here on Africa Good Morning. It is always a pleasure to be here with you all.
Thursdays, Ari Hogarth tackles South Africa.
Yes, very good morning, Ashwin and Anna. Yes, a good atmosphere.
And Fridays, we focus on Namibia's bold narratives. From thriving cities to rugged plains, our team is there, capturing the rhythm of a continent on the rise. Africa Good Morning is your essential start. News, weather, economics, and more.
This week's decisions, today's debates, tomorrow's consequences. The agenda puts the spotlight on Namibia's most pressing issues and the people driving them. From headline makers to groundbreakers, we bring you the voices and perspectives at the center of the national conversation. One story, one interview, the depth you won't find anywhere else. That is the agenda. Catch the agenda on 102.com and on ntv.my.na. Headlining our economic news, Nedbank Namibia brought together members of the diplomatic corps, government representatives and business leaders in Windhoek on the 18th of August in an effort to strengthen stakeholder relationships and promote greater cross-border engagement. The event created a platform for discussions on the banking needs of diplomatic missions and non-resident clients operating across different jurisdictions. It also allowed participants to explore how financial institutions can help connect international stakeholders with local expertise, business networks, and opportunities. Among those attending were Deputy Minister of International Relations Janeli Matundu, Zimbabwean Ambassador and Representative of the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps Melody Chaurura, Nedbank Africa Regions Group Managing Executive Dr. Terence Sibia, and Nedbank Group Head of Non-Resident and Diplomatic Banking Elelwani Pandelani, together with Nedbank Namibia Managing Director Martha Murorwa. Members of Nedbank Namibia's board and executive committee also attended. Murorwa said diplomatic missions and non-resident stakeholders need financial partners who understand the complexities of operating across jurisdictions. She said Nedbank's role goes beyond traditional banking services, adding that the bank aims to provide trusted partnerships that help international stakeholders navigate the local business environment, build connections, and identify opportunities that support sustainable economic growth. Keeping in line with the world of economics, let's now take a look at the financial indicators. The Namibian dollar trades at 21.83 against the British pound, 18.70 against the euro, 16.01 to the US dollar, and 2 Namibian dollars and 38 cents buys you 1 Chinese yuan. All commodities are up, save for Brent crude oil, which took a dip of 0.66%, now trading at $93.79 per barrel. Stick around after the break. We bring you the news headlining the international scene.
Namibia is a land of movement, with waves that never stop reaching forward. Here, adventure is not something we search for. It is something we are born into. In every corner of this country, creativity rises, from artists, from athletes, from dreamers. And when the world comes to explore Namibia, they discover something extraordinary. Because when sport moves people, creativity moves ideas, and tourism moves the world toward us. Something powerful happens. A platform where movement meets imagination, where industries connect, where opportunity grows, where Namibia's next chapter begins. Welcome to the Creative Sport Tourism Expo. Exhibit, partner, experience. Creative sport tourism.
And now for your international news. France's Constitutional Council has blocked a law that would have banned children under 15 from using social media platforms as from September. The council ruled that the blanket ban was incompatible with freedom of expression and communication and the right to privacy. It found that the law applied too broadly to social media services without considering the specific risks posed by individual platforms or the circumstances and maturity of each child. The council also raised concerns over the law's age verification requirements, saying it did not provide sufficient safeguards to protect users' privacy. The ruling means the law cannot take effect in its current form. The French government has already begun work on a revised proposal that would address the constitutional and European Union law concerns. The government is reportedly aiming to have a new bill in place by spring of 2027. The original ban had been expected to take effect on the 1st of September 2026. That brings us to the end of our international news segment. Let's take a look at the weather predictions to see what the weather brings. In Windhoek, partly cloudy conditions are expected with maximum temperatures of 28 degrees Celsius and minimum temperatures of 14 degrees Celsius. In Rundu, bright, sunny, clear skies are to be expected, together with maximum temperatures of 34 degrees Celsius and minimum temperatures of 14 degrees Celsius. Looking over at the coast, it's partly cloudy in Walvis Bay. Minimum temperatures will be at 16 degrees Celsius, while it will be warmest at 25 degrees Celsius. Lüderitz, on the other hand, is scorching hot despite the partly cloudy conditions. Maximum temperatures of 37 degrees Celsius are to be expected, with minimum temperatures of 22 degrees Celsius. We'll now take a quick ad break, and when we come back, we bring you the sports news, courtesy of the Sport Wrap Desk with Ari Hochad.
From the heart of the continent to its farthest horizons, Africa awakens with stories that shape our world. This is Africa Good Morning, your window into the pulse of a dynamic continent. I'm Ashwin Berry, here to deliver the latest news, sharp insights, and the vibrant spirit of Africa. Every weekday, we dive into the headlines, uncover untold stories, and spotlight the people driving change. Plus, stay ahead with daily weather forecasts and economic updates to navigate your week with confidence. With direct coverage from our correspondents on the ground, we bring you in-depth access to Africa's beating heart. Mondays, Mike Situla reports from Zambia.
Africa, good morning.
Tuesdays, Talent Gore covers Zimbabwe. Wednesdays, Rorisang Mokojwe brings Botswana's news. Dumela, Rorisang.
Thank you very much, Ashwin, for having me right here on Africa Good Morning. It is always a pleasure to be here with you all.
Thursdays, Ari Hochad tackles South Africa.
Yes, very good morning, Ashwin and Aina. Yes, a good atmosphere.
And Fridays, we focus on Namibia's bold narratives. From thriving cities to rugged plains, our team is there, capturing the rhythm of a continent on the rise. Africa Good Morning is your essential start. News, weather, economics, and more.
Good day, everyone. Time for international sports news. Starting off with rugby news first. It is the big series. It's rugby's greatest rivalry that's being played between the All Blacks and the Springboks. First test to the All Blacks. They beat South Africa, the Springboks, 33 points to 16. That is in Johannesburg. So the second test in Cape Town this coming Saturday. And then the third one will be again in Johannesburg. And then followed by a fourth test that will be in Baltimore in the USA. On to soccer news, the much-anticipated English Premier League that started, and a good start for defending champion Arsenal. They beat Coventry by 3-0 at home. And also a good start for two teams promoted this season into the Premier League. It's Hull City that beat Manchester United at home by 2-0. And also a good away win for Leeds, beating Nottingham Forest 1-0. Other results from the weekend, Manchester City beat Bournemouth by 2-1, and Newcastle and Liverpool played to a 2-2 draw. And then Everton win 2-0. That was at home against Crystal Palace. And Brighton, a very good start for them, beating Aston Villa 4-0. On to Formula One racing news. It was the Dutch Grand Prix that was at Zandvoort, and it was McLaren that did well. Lando Norris winning the race. Kimi Antonelli in his Mercedes-Benz. He was second, and third, George Russell also in a Mercedes-Benz. The two Ferraris just outside the top three. That was Lewis Hamilton. He finished in fourth position, and Charles Leclerc, he was in fifth position. Then to close off today's international sports news, it is golf news from the BMW Championship. That's part of the FedEx Championship, part of the PGA Tour. So it was Wyndham Clark of the USA winning that tournament, 17 under par for the 4 rounds, followed by Patrick Cantley. He was 14 under par in second position, and Rory McIlroy, he was third on 13 under par. World number 1 is Scotty Scheffler, and he was 7 under par. That was tied for 12th, and he is still leading the FedEx standings. So the last season-ending tournament, the FedEx tournament, will be in Atlanta this coming weekend. That's at East Lake Golf Course. So the top 30 players on that FedEx list in action in that tournament. That's international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day. We'll talk international sport again tomorrow. Goodbye.
And with that, we've come to the end of the broadcast. I am Diana Master, and this has been Sunset News. Don't end your day without us.